Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, we're going to talk about why a bench is no longer a bench and why a squat is no longer a squat. Before I get into that topic, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. The best topic ideas, I turn into videos just like this. All right. Happy New Year's to you guys. Last video of the year. Stayed up a little bit late last night waiting for my wife to get home. But didn't do any crazy drinking. Didn't even have a drink. So if I look tired, it's just because I'm being a nice husband. All right. So the squat is no longer a squat and the bench is no longer a bench. What do I mean? Not clickbait. I'm not going to give you a 22-day ab program like Athlete X or give you some magic clickbait bullshit. This is kind of the truth. I was looking at Instagram this morning and SF Athletics had posted some thoughts on the previous year, and he mentioned that a squat is no longer a squat. And this is something that I've been talking about a little bit, with friends, with clients, that a bench is no longer a bench. And it really goes for a squat. A squat is no longer a squat. So let me explain what this means. Somewhere, when we had the invasion of the 5x5 minimal type of programs, things focused a little bit too much. The pendulum swung a little bit too much to the strength side of things, to the point where our bench press and our squat, which were being used, specifically for hypertrophy. Obviously, you had people doing it for strength, right? I'm not saying they weren't, but we took the bench and the squat and we turned them from simple, basic movements that were good for hypertrophy, good for building muscle, into some complex Franken movements that involve 52 form cues, and we evolve them. Basically, we devolve them into movements that suck for hypertrophy, that are worse for hypertrophy. We took two quality movements and we over-cued them, right? We overthought them. We're trying to turn like the bench press, which is great for chest and tricep and delta, front delt development. We took that great exercise and we injected all this information, all these form cues and form videos, and now people think they need to do this and that and get this tightness and get that shelf and get this arch and get this leg drive and all this kind of stuff. And it's become so, we overthink it so much. We've added so many required cues to the bench so much that in many cases, it looks like a mechanical monster that's worse for hypertrophy. Now, if you're benching for a 1-rep max in competition and you want to get every ounce you can, then leg drive and all these setup cues and all this stuff is great. But for hypertrophy, for basic muscle building, there's not a lot you need to do to keep the lift safe. And there's not a lot you need to do to make the lift effective for building muscle. There's not. You need to control the bar. You need to keep a reasonable degree of control, right? You don't want to dive bomb or bounce it off your chest. You want to make sure your grip width is okay, especially on the bench where you're not super narrow, where it's more tricep focused. You want to have a reasonable grip width. You want to have a reasonable degree of tightness in the upper back. What I think, or in the upper body, I think of pushing my hips, not violently, but pushing my hips towards my upper back. That gives me a good, tight upper body, and that's all you need for hypertrophy. You don't need leg drive. You don't need arch. You don't need 22 form cues. You don't need to overthink this shit, right? Somewhere along the line, we took a perfectly good exercise for chest and triceps and front delts, and we just turned it into a car wreck where we have all these must-haves, and it's no longer as good as it was previously for hypertrophy, for building muscle. and I will die on that hill because I think we've way overcomplicated it for the average lifter, and they're panicking. And they took this natural lift. We took something very natural and simple and easy to learn, and we've just turned it into a terrorizing thing where we have to learn so much to be able to get a lot out of it. And nothing could be further from the truth. And the squat is the same thing. Like, the squat is a natural movement. The squat, more than anything in coaching, is a nightmare because people come to me and they're so form locked, okay? And I want you to remember that word. They're form locked, right? They look on the internet, they see 242 videos by 242 different coaches with all these form cues, and then they have high bar and low bar and wide stance and narrow stance and all the coaches saying there's only one way to squat, right? And we've turned the squat into some form-locked, over-cued, over-mechanicaled, non-natural lift where people come to me submitting form videos, and it doesn't look like anything like a natural squat. You know what I have to do in most cases? I have to bring them back to just trying to do a yoga squat, or just trying to squat naturally down like they were going to take a dump. That's kind of return, like you're sitting on the toilet. Let's return the squat to something simple. And not just that, but for hypertrophy, for muscle building, which is what most of us are after, right? Now it's all about chasing weight with proper form and all these cues. And I think it's worse for hypertrophy. Right? I didn't have all these cues and all this stuff, and I'm not pulling this in my day, things were better. Well, they kind of were, because we didn't overthink the fucking natural squat. We just squatted with weight on our back, right? We wanted it to be about hitting the legs and building bigger legs. And now I see guys that feel pressure to do low bar and wider stance and all this kind of stuff and 22 cues. And mostly, I just want to scream through this little box, relax, fucking relax and just squat naturally. We have to return things to a natural squat. I'm not saying that some of these form cues don't have value. Certainly you want to have tightness in a squat. And certainly you want to pull down on the bar and have an equal grip width and stay upright so you're not torching your lower back. But with all we know about form, and all the videos we have and all the coaches we have, squats are a train wreck. They're an absolute train wreck because people are just form locked. They have all this information in their head and they're panicking. And if that's you, really we just have to think about returning the squat to a more natural feeling thing. If you goblet squat, you hold a kettlebell and you goblet squat, it's going to be a very natural squat because you're not overthinking things. If I tell you to hold a kettlebell and kind of tuck your elbows in and squat down and try to touch your elbows to your knees, there's a good chance it's just going to be a natural squat. Super simple, super easy, right? I have a drill on this channel called Pick Up the Quarter. I have 2 videos like this where I just teach people to squat by naturally opening their knees because we've almost forgot how to open our knees on a squat. So, not to get into a long ramble about squat technique, but squat has become the same as bench. We have taken a lift that is really good for hypertrophy, that is really good for muscle building, and we've turned it into some Franken lift, some form lock lift, where it's so overcomplicated and so overthought that nobody's squat is doing shit for hypertrophy anymore. So the best advice I can give you guys is flush all this shit that's been stuffed in your ears the last 10 years, and let's return back to basics. Let's return back to simple. Not sloppy, but simple. We still want tightness. We still want to protect our body. We want to protect our shoulders and our knees and our back. But right now, we've gone way beyond that. The squats I see are just destroying backs and knees and hips, and they're the furthest thing from natural you could ever imagine. And bench, if you're kind of the arch guy, leg drive guy, 82 form cue guy, I'm going to say this politely. You need a 10-step program to detox from that shit, because that's great for a 1-rep max attempt, but sustaining all that shit and trying to do leg drive on every rep, this is hypertrophy, this is muscle building. It's not needed. It's way overcomplicated, and you're just expending way too much energy down the wrong path. So guys, hope this video has been of some help. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If you made it this far in this video and have yet to subscribe to my channel, please do. I'd appreciate the support. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. Have a great day. What's the solution, right? What's the solution? We need more coaches that can help people return to the basics instead of trying to fucking overcomplicate things with 82 form cues for the average beginner that aren't even fucking necessary for their goals.